Hello, and welcome to the event, A Safer World for Her, Mobilizing Communities to Prevent Violence Against Girls. The event is co-hosted by Global Communities, my organization, and the Coalition for Adolescent Girls. My name is Carrie Hessler-Radlett, and I am the President and CEO of Global Communities. Each year between November 25th, which is the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, and December 10th, which is Human Rights Day, the world comes together to galvanize action against gender-based violence in an international campaign known as 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence. Global Communities is incredibly proud and so humbled to be part of this campaign this year by elevating the issue of violence against girls, which is a devastating violation of human rights. Across the globe, adolescent girls and young women face so many different challenges to their well-being and development. Fueled by harmful gender norms and poverty, 12 million girls are married before the age of 18 every year. That's 23 girls every minute. More than 200 million girls and women alive today have undergone female genital mutilation, and approximately 15 million adolescent girls worldwide have experienced forced sex at some point in their lives. This is unacceptable. In emergency settings, women and girls are disproportionately affected by sexual and gender-based violence. Girls are also more likely to experience acute food insecurity, and they often bear the brunt of negative coping mechanisms such as sex-selective feeding, child labor, and survival sex. Whether at home, in communities, or during conflict, violence against girls is a human rights violation of pandemic proportions, affecting their well-being and their ability to finish school and flourish in their lives. We cannot accept this reality. All girls have a fundamental right to grow up in nurturing environments free from discrimination, violence, and harmful practices. We must all work together to prevent violence against girls and ensure they have the support they need to thrive. I am personally deeply committed to promoting gender equality and the advancement of young women and girls from my perch at Global Communities, but also in the wider international development and humanitarian space. Global Communities works at the intersection of humanitarian assistance, sustainable development, and financial inclusion to save lives, advance equity, and secure strong futures in more than 30 countries around the world. Our work is grounded in the belief that gender equality is vital to realizing human rights. It is also key to achieving sustainable development goals and delivering effective humanitarian assistance. We are committed to advancing dignity, equity, and inclusion across our organization and all of our programs. Global Communities has implemented youth and girl-centered programs focused on civil engagement, economic development, health, and violent prevention in more than 15 countries around the world. Our approach is rooted in the principles of positive youth development, which positions young people, including adolescent girls and young women, at the center of their own development. We work with youth as partners in creating supportive environments where they can freely and safely exercise their voice, their choice, and their leadership potential. We co-create pathways which help you fulfill their aspirations while building a sense of agency, belonging, and purpose. And we encourage young people to act as powerful agents of change in their own communities, with their own governments and economies. We employ trauma-informed and conflict-sensitive approaches to prevent and mitigate the risks of violence against girls, including child marriage, human trafficking, and sexual violence. We engage young people in peer learning and safe spaces to raise awareness, build empathy, and promote equitable relationships. And we work with families and communities to address the root causes of violence. We also partner with community-based organizations to provide protection services to women and girls affected by conflict, including legal and psychosocial support. Today's event will focus on the importance of engaging communities, including men and boys, in preventing violence against girls. In the next hour and a half, you will hear from technical and youth experts who are absolutely dedicated to ending violence through locally led solutions. The first panel will explore insights and promising practices from global development and humanitarian assistance programs. The second panel will focus on community voices and will include a fireside chat with some extraordinary girls and young women leading the charge against gender-based violence. And the plenary session will conclude with a call to action, recognizing that every single person has responsibility to act against violations of girls' rights. I encourage you to listen closely to girls' voices and become agents of change in your own communities. Following the presentations and panel discussions, we will invite you to an informal networking session. I hope you'll attend. Women's rights and girls' rights are human rights. Global Communities proudly stands with girls around the world. We are committed to elevating their voices and interests. We are also committed to supporting families and communities as they address girls' unique challenges, which are often overlooked in development programs. Before we give floor to our moderators and panelists, I am so pleased to introduce Divya Srinivasan, co-chair of the Coalition for Adolescent Girls, who will also deliver opening remarks. Global Communities is the fiscal sponsor of the coalition, and we are thrilled to co-host this webinar with them. I wish you an informative and productive event. Thank you for being here.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the event. I am not Divya. Unfortunately, Divya could not make it today as she's traveling, but she sends her regrets for missing this wonderful event. I am one of her fellow steering committee members on the Coalition for Adolescent Girls, or CAG for short, which is one of the co-hosts of the event today, along with Global Communities, who we're very grateful for. Just a little bit of housekeeping. During this event, you will hear panelists speaking in English, Ukrainian, and Hindi. We are offering simultaneous interpretation throughout the event, so please click on the interpretation globe, which should be an icon at the bottom of your screen, and select English, Ukrainian, or Hindi. Please also mute the original audio. My name is Emily Heimsoth. I am a Global Gender Policy Advisor at Save the Children. I'm based in Nairobi, Kenya, and as I said, I am one of the steering committee members for the Coalition for the Adolescent Girls, or CAG. I am the coalition's policy lead, and on behalf of the coalition, we want to say thank you for joining. If you're tuning in, you're probably already working on efforts to prevent or address violence against girls, or you have an interest in this topic. And so we're really grateful that you're here in this space to have some very super interesting discussions that I'm really looking forward to. We know that violence against girls is very widespread and that adolescent girls have very unique risks of forms of gender-based violence that others do not. For example, child marriage or FGMC. We also know that these kinds of human rights abuses and forms of gender-based violence can have compounding and lifelong impacts on girls. So that's why this discussion around prevention today during the 16 days of activism is so critical. I'd like to share a little bit about the Coalition for Adolescent Girls. If you're not familiar with us, we are a coalition of over 80 civil society organizations, as well as a few individual consultants, who all have the same mission and values around accelerating the rights of adolescent girls around the world. And we range in size from major INGOs to grassroots organizations. We have representation in over a dozen countries, and we're all working together, whether we're focused primarily on programming, on advocacy, on research, to try and make sure that the voices and perspectives of adolescent girls are heard. We have two working groups currently. We have a program working group, which meets bi-monthly to do deep dives into specific programming issues and to share knowledge amongst practitioners. We have an advocacy working group, which I coordinate as the policy lead. And just a little aside, just because we're talking about gender-based violence prevention, I want to give you an example of some of the work that we do as a coalition. A few years ago, the United States was updating its strategy on addressing gender-based violence globally, and the CAG was very instrumental in making sure that this strategy, which was so key, had a strong adolescent girl lens. So our members participated in consultations to help inform this strategy, and we also pushed so that adolescent girls themselves could speak to the US government and help inform the strategy. We were successful in getting this adolescent girl consultation, and the final result of the strategy which addresses gender-based violence globally, did have a strong adolescent girl lens. And so this is the kind of work we do together as a coalition, drawing in our expertise in order to make the world a safer place for girls. I want to mention a few other benefits of the Coalition for Adolescent Girls. We also have a number of resources, including an Adolescent Girl Dispatch, which is a monthly newsletter with the latest updates, research, etc. on adolescent girls. We have a Google listserv where we can use to amplify our new research that comes out between CAG members. We can share events, we can ask questions and try and network. And the CAG is a great space for networking. We do it through co-hosting events like this, which we're really excited about. We also have member meetings throughout the year where we can connect across the globe, share what's working, share our challenges. Even at Women Deliver, this year, we had a networking event for members to connect in person. So we're always really welcoming to new members. My colleagues are going to put into the chat the website for the Coalition for Adolescent Girls, as well as an email address to get in contact with the steering committee. We're always happy to chat with you if you're interested in becoming a member. So with that, I'd love to get on with the show and hear our exciting panels, and I will turn it over to the moderator of our first panel, Betty.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for that introduction, and welcome to this session that talks about it takes a village to prevent violence against girls, and we'll be hearing insights from global programs. My name is Betty Adera. I'm the Senior Technical Advisor for HIV, AIDS, and Health at Global Communities, and I am based out in Nairobi, Kenya. Raising a child is no mean feat in our troubled world today. More so, raising girls and daughters. Global statistics continue to paint a grim picture. The UN Women estimates that 1 in 3 women have been subjected to violence at least once in their lifetime. More than 5 women or girls are killed every hour globally by someone within their family. In the year 2021 alone, nearly 1 in 5 women aged 20 to 24 years were married before turning the age of 18. With each act of violence, as we have heard, it robs women and girls of their dignity, their self-worth, and results in fear, exclusion, and extreme trauma. In the case of sexual violence, risks of HIV infections, other sexually transmitted infections, unintended pregnancies, unsafe abortions, or all of the above are real. Engaging whole families and whole communities is the most sustainable and sure bet strategy for violence prevention. While communities can shame, victim blame, or prescribe harmful gender roles on one hand, on the other hand, they can empower women, collaborate on prevention and intervention, and collectively shape new norms of gender democracy and equality. This is what Global Communities builds upon. We catalyze community action to strengthen systems that deliver scalable, sustainable, and community-based solutions in our primary healthcare work. To keep girls and young women free from HIV and safe from violence, Global Communities collaborates with local actors and governments and prioritizes mobilization of communities for change in high HIV burden areas in Botswana, in Kenya, in Rwanda through the DREAMS programs, and in Zambia through the Chimwemwe program. Through these programs, we educate and engage whole communities, including boys and men, parents, caregivers, religious, traditional, and opinion leaders through community dialogue forums using evidence-based tools such as the SASA, which stands for Start, Awareness, Support, and Action. We also deliver school-based HIV violence prevention through life skills curriculum to provide accurate information and build prevention skills among large numbers of young people within communities. So, without much ado, allow me to introduce my wonderful panel today. Please see their full bios in the Zoom platform. Teresa Gakwa is the Strategic Growth Director at Freely in Hope. Sushmita Mukherjee is the Director, Gender and Adolescent Girls at Project Concern International in India. Oksana Mikhailenko is the Protection and Gender-Based Violence Prevention Manager for Ukraine at Global Communities. So welcome, ladies, to this panel discussion. You have heard from our leaders who have given the initial thought and laying the platform for this discussion today. And of course, within the context of the 16 days of activism against violence against women and girls. So I will ask all of you to briefly describe your programs and share how they involve communities in violence prevention efforts. And I'll start with you, Teresa. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Betty. Hello, everybody. It is such a great honor to be part of this very important conversation, particularly during this period of 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. As Betty mentioned, I work with Freely in Hope as the Strategic Growth Director, and I am also the networking lead at the Coalition for Adolescent Girls. And at Freely in Hope, we really exist to end the cycle of sexual violence, working mainly in Kenya and in Zambia. Betty has shared a lot of statistics, and I want to share a bit of country-specific statistics. In Kenya, 23% of girls get married before the age of 18, and every 30 minutes, a woman is raped. That number is staggeringly higher in Zambia, where 46% of girls get married before the age of 18, and over 50% of girls report that their first sexual encounter is rape. Now, all of this and all the other data that has been shared previously is evidence that it is critical at this point to engage every stakeholder in our communities, in the society, to address this really, this issue. And at Freely in Hope, we do this by equipping survivors to lead in ending the cycle of sexual violence. Our primary programming focuses on providing holistic high school and university scholarships for girls that are survivors of sexual violence. It is holistic in the sense that it caters to not just their academic performance or tuition, it also caters to their post-traumatic growth, providing mental health support, legal aid for those that have hearings in court, and other services. And while they're with us, these girls are equipped in their leadership and for them to become survivor leaders that are effecting change in their communities. They then design and implement programs that we call storytelling platforms that work with specific community members addressing sexual violence prevention and response. And that's what I really want to talk about. These programs work with children in schools, high school students, parents and caregivers, young women working in prostitution, amongst others. A program that is really key for us is Eneza, and this is Swahili for making it known. This program works with high school students. It's a 10-week program that trains them on what sexual violence is, the forms of it, and how we can collectively become advocates to end it. When we do this program, we start with a pre-assessment tool, or we administer a pre-assessment tool. One of the things that we have found very, noteworthy is that at the beginning, over 90% of the boys in the school will state that it is a man's right to have sex with a woman. And so it is so evident at this young age that already we are building a mindset that has potential to perpetuate violence against girls, against women in the community. And so we begin doing this work of helping them understand, the worth of the woman or the girl, and helping them understand the importance of consent. And in that process, at the very end, we have noted that over 90% of the boys now begin to understand that indeed it is not a man's right to have sex with a woman. Indeed, consent is a critical thing for them to consider. And we believe that having these conversations with these boys, and that's just one of the groups that we work with educators too, is critical in shifting cultural mindsets that have sent, the wrong message, and it helps in shifting those power dynamics from a young age, so that by the time these boys are becoming men, they are doing the right thing in the society. And at the end of Veneza, we also provide them with resources and equip them to go and then become advocates in their communities, so that they are having positive influence on other men, other boys, and even in their families. They become allies for their sisters and the other girls in their communities. I think I'll stop there, Betty, because, of time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Teresa, for highlighting the great work that you're doing down in highlighting to us the action. So add to some of your experiences and in your programs in preventing violence against girls.
Hi. First of all, many thanks to Coalition for Adolescent Girls and Global Communities for hosting this webinar at this very time when globally we are observing 16 days of activism to really call our stance to end gender-based violence. Taking the Teresa's point of actions forward, while during this day we are trying to identify and very outrightly talk about gender-based violence, I would like to present about an initiative that we are implementing in India, where we are also simultaneously talking about what are the alternatives, what are the kind of solutions that is possible to give you the smiles on the face of these adolescent girls. Our initiative is called Umang, which is a Hindi word meaning enthusiasm in English. We all know that child early and forced marriage is quite prominent and prevalent across the India, and no statistics will be really able to further tell us that how serious and grave the situation is. Can I have the next slide, please? Let's look into a quick snapshot into status of adolescence. I request keep clicking actually. So an adolescent girl, when she is growing up, she constantly just sees that how her mother is doing certain typical stereotypical roles in their household. And not only she is seeing her own mother, but she is also seeing a lot of women in her neighborhoods to doing a similar kind of roles and activities. And thus she starts interpreting and try to identify that this is a norm, this is a social normal behavior and pattern of work that she also has to do, because she is similar as a female, she has the same gender and the societal status. So slowly then she also starts practicing following the same sort of actions. So in the societal structure, we see that how just by observing what is happening in your neighborhood, you pass on from one generation to another generation, your gender status, your social status, your work status, and your language and what you have to do thereafter. So in such a situation, then what happens that the girl also starts doing their household work, and she is then noticed, observed in the society that how she is getting the place which is in the normative structure. And then maybe she is also then ends up in getting married and getting into the same role as her mother has been. Next slide, please. To address the issue of a child early and forced marriage, it is very essential that we do not only stop the ritual of early marriage, but it is essential that we focus on that how we are enabling that adolescent girl to become, to convert, to translate her life into being a productive life. And it is very essential, hence that for the purpose that we work at the individual and the collective agency levels. Because it is the individual that will take the action, but however it is the collective that has to then also participate in bringing the across the societal fabric level changes. So Umang starts by working with the women collectives, where each and every individual woman is also build capacities in terms of reflecting her own status so that she can also identify what is her status all about. Thus, an individual woman then tries to work upon with her daughter, because we understand in the previous slide that if from mother to daughter, one can transfer what is the normative work culture, then one can also transfer what are the alternatives possible. We know that in India, more than or nearly half of the mothers themselves have been married early, or they have been pushed for marriage, forced marriage. So hence mothers are the best one to identify with this problem, and hence can talk about of the alternate possibilities in their life with their daughters. Similarly, the collectives can then have the voice and the space in the community meetings to really talk about the community level changes. And thus we can aim towards, or we are trying to build a family level shift in the dynamics of the conversation around girls' education, and community level shift across how the value of the girl child can be shifted towards when she is getting more educated and when she has the economic independence to stand on her own. Thus, next slide please. In the intergenerational transmission of empowerment of mothers and daughters, we can see that every girl is in school. The mothers are supporting their daughters in their pathway to progress. And then the daughters are also teaching their mothers how to progress further in life and advance there. So I would like to pause here, and that's how we are bringing in an intergenerational transmission of empowerment from mothers to daughters and to the subsequent generations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sushmita, for sharing with us the interface, the intergenerational interface, girls learning from their mothers, but also at the same time, you know, girls spinning it around and being able to teach, you know, their mothers and of course, other community members. So that is great. So I'll turn it to you now, Oksana. Global Communities Ukraine. And of course, we all know the situation, the insecurity, the war, the migrations, the turbulence in Ukraine. So could you share with us your experience from the global communities there insofar as preventing and mitigating violence against women and girls? Oksana.
Вітаю всіх. Мене звати
Hello,
Оксана
everyone.
Михайленко. І
My
я є
name is Oksana
менеджеркою напрямку
Mikhalenko.
Protection і запобігання гендерно зумовленому
And
насильству програми
I am a
CLEAR Global
manager of our
Community.
company, How to
Я
Prevent
з України,
Violence,
саме з тієї
and I am
частини,
from Ukraine.
яка наразі окупована російськими військами.
Right now,
І є
our country is
переселенкою.
occupied by Russian
Я
Federation.
і моя родина були вимушені залишити свої домівки,
My family and I
рятуючись від
had to
обстрілів, окупації,
leave the place
переслідувань,
where we lived and
захоплення
move to
і
a different
агресивних дій.
area. We were
Мій
running
чоловік
away
та
from
22-річний
bombing.
син планували своє життя інакше, але
Of
пішли
course, we were
добровольцями
planning
в
our
Збройні
life
Сили України,
differently.
аби захистити нашу країну, її людей від дій російської армії.
Right now, we have to defend
Останнє я
our
була вдома
country.
22 лютого. І
And
своїй
last
доньки
time
6
I
років
was at home,
я
it was
змогла
February
побачити через 6
22nd.
місяців після того, як мій чоловік зміг пройти фільтрацію і під
We
обстрілами вивести свою дитину.
we are in a
Ем,
safe place right
Це моя
now, but
історія. Але
my
таких історій
husband had to go
наразі в
filtration
Україні
camps
мільйони.
to get to the place where
Для
we
мене
are
робота
right
в
now, where
громадському
it is
секторі
safe.
і гуманітарній діяльності – це про особисту місію і внесок в наближення перемоги,
Right
про
now,
допомогу
we
найбільш
are
вразливим,
adding
про відновлення
our
людей,
work
громад,
to the common
територій і
fight for
забезпечення
our freedom.
майбутнього для більшості українок і українців, як
And
нинішніх, так і тих, які ще не
we
народилися.
we are right
гендерною
now
експертою,
helping people who are
тренеркою,
around us, but in the
психологинею
future it will
і маю
help
багаторічний
people
досвід
of my
роботи
country
з
as well.
постраждалими від насильства. Але
Right
під
now,
час війни українці і українки стикнулися з ситуаціями неймовірного насильства. Щоденні
violence in
трагічні
their life.
новини про тотальне нівелювання прав людей у полоні на тимчасово окупованих територіях, прифронтових громадах і звільнених громадах вражають і змінюють уявлення про межі людської жорстокості. Крім того, ми
Right now, we
спостерігаємо
have
зростання
many
статистики
cases of
домашнього
women
насильства, пов'язаного
who
з війною.
experienced violence at the
В майбутньому
front of
таких
the
ситуацій і випадків і кейсів буде
military
ще набагато
action
більше,
and
і
also
наслідки
inside
будуть
of the
ще
country.
страшнішими.
And it
Станом на
is really
вересень
scary.
2023 року, від початку повномасштабного вторгнення, це з 24 лютого 2022 року, лише офіційно зареєстровано 225 випадків сексуального
So
насильства, які
officially,
були скоєні російськими
for 1
військовими.
year of our military
Якщо
operation,
подивитися в
we had
гендерному
official
розрізі, то серед
220
чоловіків таких злочинів 79,
cases of
щодо
women
жінок
where
146,
the women
щодо
had
неповнолітніх 13,
violence
і серед
against
них
them.
12
We also
дівчат.
have
І це
official
говорить
cases
про те,
where
що війна
teenagers
має
were
найбільший негативний вплив і
experiencing
насильство
violence
по
against
відношенню до
them.
дівчат і жінок. Насправді таких випадків набагато більше.
Well, I can say
Війна
that there
триває.
are many
Цифри
more
будуть
cases
зростати.
like this in my
Страждання
country.
посилюватись. І ми маємо бути
And
готовими
people are
реагувати
suffering.
та ще більше долучатися до допомоги постраждалих, оскільки багато територій ще є захопленими. І, на жаль,
I am glad that I
ситуації
can
і
help
випадки
women
ми
and
дізнаємося ще пізніше.
girls in my
Нинішня
country.
війна в Україні також показала, що дівчата і жінки більше страждають від насильства в порівнянні з іншими групами.
Well,
І не
I
лише
can
від
say that
безпосередніх
the war
наслідків війни,
actually showed
але й
that
від
women
побічних,
and
таких
girls
як
are
відповідальність за
the
порятунок
category
дітей
which is
та старших членів
experiencing
родини,
the most
виїзд в
violence.
незнайомі міста і країни, без знання
Since
мов, без засобів для існування,
women and children had to move to a
в
safer
стані стресу,
places,
травми, безпорадності.
this
В
would
умовах
add
жінки,
more
в умовах
stress
війни
to
жінки часто
them,
долають великі відстані для
and
отримання їжі,
violence was
води,
not the
доступу
only
до зв'язку
thing what they
інформації,
were
медичної
experiencing.
допомоги,
People
що
were
збільшує
scared,
ризики
didn't know
нападів,
what to do.
затримувань, сексуального насильства, травматизму
They
і, на жаль,
they
в тому
had
числі
to move
відмін,
either
обстрілів
to Ukraine
так далі.
areas or
До всього
abroad,
цього жінки
and
ще
all
вимушені
that
брати на себе функцію
would
одноосібного
just add
забезпечення
more
родини,
stress to them.
оскільки чоловіки воюють.
Sexual
Боротьба
violence,
за гроші та ресурси часто
psychological
ставить жінок
violence.
під ризик зазнати нелегальної трудової експлуатації, торгівлі
Also,
людьми,
uh,
втрати
we
можливості
have some
піклуватися про
cases
своїх
where
дітей
people
і
were
близьких.
like
Я знаю жінок, яких під час
slaves,
евакуації
like
невідомі
trade
особи
slaves.
намагалися розлучити з власними дітьми.
Mhm.
І декого
We also
розлучали.
have cases when
Жінки, які вимушені були доглядати за іншими
women
дітьми в той
and
час, як
children
їхні
were
сиділи вдома
divided,
самі.
and
Про
the
сексуальні
children
домагання в приймаючих
had to spend
родинах і
time
громадах в
alone
інших
at
країнах.
home,
Okay.
which is not
Бути
acceptable.
дівчиною-підлітком і жінкою в умовах війни – це подвійний ризик і подвійне
So I can
навантаження.
Conclude that
Особливо,
it is
якщо ти жінка
really
або
difficult to
дівчина,
be a woman or
яка
adolescent
має особливі
girl
потреби.
in a country
В
which
цьому
is
є
involved in a
певні
military action.
позитивні зміни, пов'язані з тим, що в Україні жінки змінюють уявлення.
I can say
Вони стають
that this
військовослужбовцями,
situation with
очолюють
the
нові
war
професії і
action
напрямки діяльності. І
showed
це те, чого ми
to
досягнули.
Ukrainian girls and women that they are
Дякую.
having power and they can fight it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Oksana, for highlighting to us your interventions in a very, very difficult context with all the risks, and of course, reinforcing the notion that in any circumstance of violence, it is the women, it is the girls that suffer the most. So thank you for amplifying that point. So back to you, ladies. We've heard from India, from Zambia, we've heard from Ukraine as well. And we are all saying and seeing the value and the power of engaging communities. And in communities, there's everybody. There's the parents, the caregivers, the boys, the men, the teachers, the leaders, and so on, and the women and the girls themselves. So with that, noting that everywhere where all of you work, there appears to be like deeply rooted societal norms and intergenerational traditions that in all fairness, hard to crack. So what would be your advice for other local actors and our gracious listeners today in terms of how to just get this done? What are some of the practical advices that you can give programs who are implementing violence against women and girls type of interventions? And probably in under 2 minutes, I'll start with you again, Teresa.
All right, thank you so much, Betty, and thank you, my fellow panelists, for sharing your impactful work. I believe that in the same way that the violence that is meted on girls and women has far-reaching negative impact on our communities, that their safety, health, and well-being is pivotal in the socioeconomic thriving of any unit of organization. It could be the family, it could be a school, it could be even a country, and even like the entire world. We understand that the well-being of girls is critical in the thriving of our society. As such, I believe that invoking the positive impact that interventions, violence prevention interventions have in the thriving of the community is critical in getting ownership and engagement from different stakeholders and actors. When girls are whole, they are well, then they contribute positively to the thriving of the community. A brief specific example is that when we go to schools and we are working with the students, but also we are working with educators, we demonstrate to the teachers and the educators the impact of the violence that girls experience on their ability to perform academically, to study, and to grow in their, like just their careers. And I have realized that once educators and teachers begin to see that direct correlation, then they take more ownership in the implementation of these programs and in supporting a safer environment for girls to learn and grow.
All right. Thank you very much, Teresa. Now back to you, Sushmita. What would be your key takeaway and advice to other local actors in India and globally as well, in terms of what they can learn from intergenerational successes in preventing violence against women and girls? In under 2 minutes, please.
Yeah, thank you. I think the local actors have to understand that this is high time when we have to shift the intergenerational transmission, where we have to talk of gender equality, where we have to talk of sharing of space, voice, choice, and with respect. It should not be in any fear of threat or discrimination. The voice of individuals and influencers is very critical. The alternates for regressive norms is taking its shape, particularly in the age of technology, digital, and in the age of economical power. Women and girls can do it. They are demonstrating it. So from all angles, from social, political, religious, and everything, it is essential to have equal spaces for women and girls as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sushmita, for highlighting that. Over to you, Oksana. In the context of Ukraine, and we begin to see increasingly more violence, in the world, in other regions as well. And there too are women and girls and organizations such as Global Communities and others doing work to mitigate the impact of gender-based violence. What advice would you give to such organizations and local actors in an insecurity type of context? Over to you, Oksana.
Перше, що дозволить
First
змінити
of all,
ситуацію, це інформування всіх
I
жінок
would like
і
to say
дівчат
that
про їх права, сервіси, послуги і
absolutely
можливості, які
women
вони
and
можуть
girls
отримати.
need some information about their
Враховуючи
rights.
масштаби насильства в Україні, наша програма і проєкт прийняли рішення, що послуги мають бути доступними до всіх жінок і дівчат навіть у віддалених районах і в маленьких селах. І тому ми почали активно співпрацювати з партнерами з представниками в громадах, активістками, які можуть доносити інформацію тим, хто
Also,
її
women
потребує. І
be
відповідно
available.
таким чином ми зможемо виявляти, інформувати, допомагати і перенаправляти жінок і
In
дівчат.
such a way, we will be
Це
able
будуть ті рішення і
to
позитивні
collect
приклади,
the
якими
information
вони можуть
about
ділитися одна з одною
violence.
і
Women will,
скеровувати до інших
so the fact that we
громадських
would be
організацій,
accessible will let
органів влади
girls to
для
tell their
отримання
stories.
спеціалізованої допомоги.
And when it is
І це
going
має
to
бути
be
нормою в кожній громаді,
known,
в кожному суспільстві. І
it will
адвокація і
be
захист своїх прав. І це
easier
ми
for the
цьому вчимо.
society to realize how big of a problem it is. So I think that these are the most important points for girls to prevent violence, and our organization helps them with that.
Thank you very much, Oksana, for flagging the crucial importance of even engaging the beneficiaries themselves. And that leads me to my last round of questions. And while our panel was talking about it takes a village, it takes an entire community, everybody, to mitigate and prevent all forms of gender-based violence against women and girls. The women and girls themselves are also part of that community and village that we're talking about. So as we were hearing, they are the people most affected by the issue, but they can also be actors themselves in preventing that. So in one sentence, Teresa, can you just think about a phrase that just encapsulates that, the role of the women and girls themselves in mitigating gender violence?
My one sentence is that I believe the most oppressed amongst us have the potential to become the most powerful liberators, addressing and resolving the issues that affect them directly. In that sense, I think girls and women have the power within them to become the most powerful advocates against the violence that is meted on them.
Thank you very much, Teresa. That's very powerful. They have the power to be active players and actors in, keeping themselves as well safe, and voicing and elevating their own voices in this. So I turn to you, Sushmita. What about you? What is that phrase, a couple sentences that will encapsulate, the power and the voice of the women and girls themselves?
I think I'll echo with what Teresa mentioned, that this is the millennium that is of women and girls, because they are the banner carriers, they are the change agents, they are the game changers, and the game will change because they have now got the power within and the power to change as well. They're ready to share the power, and I think this power within women and girls will demonstrate the power dynamics, but which can positively change the world rather than being again regressive. So this is the generation of women and girls. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sushmita, for that powerful and wonderfully said phrase. Now I turn over to you, Oksana, again, being very aware of the context that global communities and other organizations work in Ukraine. So in terms of participation, of the women and girls themselves, insofar as it is safe to do so, what would you say, how would you encapsulate it, a way of bringing out their voices and agency, in seeking local solutions as part of the communities they live in? Oksana.
Насправді ми намагаємось розбудовувати більше можливостей, площадок для
Honestly, we are
взаємодії,
trying to
обміну
give
досвідів
girls and
через
women
такі безпечні простори для жінок і
possibility
дівчат, які наша програма
to
підтримує
voice
в
out
проєктах і в
their
невеликих
situation.
громадах. Це місце, де жінки можуть отримати інформацію, поділитися досвідом, зрозуміти, що так в їхньому житті, а що є порушенням їхніх прав. Відповідно, це може бути можливість консолідуватись, об'єднувати зусилля на захист своїх прав. І це кампанії з адвокації.
This is something what
Це
can help to
можливість
society
показувати
to
позитивні приклади і
to
історії
see
успіху жінок, коли вони
not
змогли
just bad
відстояти
examples
свої
of
права.
women,
І
what
тут дуже
happened to
важливий
them, but also
комунікаційний
some good
компонент і
examples.
висвітлення
So,
позитивних історій успіху. І
so
тому ми
girls
багато
and women will
працюємо
see
і
that
з засобами
there
масової
is some way
інформації,
out of this
активістками,
situation and they can
залучаючи
be
їх
promoted
до
in life.
розповіді про свої позитивні кроки. І, як на мене,
So,
це є рецепт успіху.
I
Коли
think that this is a
є
recipe of
розуміння
success, not
змін,
just
коли є вміння і
show
навички
the bad
відстоювати ці
situations
зміни,
and bad statistics,
працювати
but
над
also
зміною
give some hope
законодавства
to women
і висвітлювати позитивні приклади.
and show them how somebody experienced violence and how they did good in life. I think that this is important for people to see how they can do it.
Thank you very much, Oksana, for raising the fact that the girls themselves can be
Дякую.
examples of how, preventing violence can happen. So at this point, I'd like to take this opportunity on behalf of the organizers to thank you all. Thank you so much, Teresa. Thank you, Sushmita. Thank you, Oksana, for sharing with us your work in response to violence against women and girls. You have demonstrated really that indeed it takes a whole community, everybody, all the stakeholders within a given community, with including the girls themselves, to keep the girls and the women safe from violence. In every country and culture, more action is still needed, though, to ensure that women and girls, in all their diversity, live free from violence and coercion. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And I now turn it over to Marisa to moderate the next session. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome again. My name is Marissa Cardwell, and I'm the Technical Advisor for Positive Youth Development Programs and Human Trafficking Prevention Programs at Global Communities. I also serve as the coordinator for the Coalition for Adolescent Girls, or the CAG. In San Diego, I managed the Project Roots program, which focuses on addressing the root causes of gender-based violence, sexual exploitation, and unhealthy relationships by building safe spaces for youth to learn, discuss, and participate in activities around these topics. A significant aspect of Project Roots is engaging communities as active participants by educating them and making them aware of the facts and risks of sex trafficking and grooming of youth, and equipping them with the tools to respond and refer in a way that youth feel heard and protected. Today, we're going to hear from youth experts who champion efforts to prevent gender-based violence in their communities. We'll hear from Zaria, a participant of Project Roots in San Diego, California, Garrett, who's an agent of change for the Chimwemwe Teens Project in Zambia, Harada, who's a young leader participating in the Dreams program in Botswana, and Banalada, who will share about her experience in participating in Project Umang in India. So at this time, I'll hand over the mic to them to introduce themselves and their advocacy work. We'll start with Zaria. Zaria, can you please introduce yourself and tell us more about why it's important to you to engage in prevention efforts?
My name is Zaria. I am in 6th grade. I'm 11. I was born and raised in San Diego, California, and I'm a part of Project Roots. And the reason why I feel it's important to engage in gender-based, like prevention of gender-based violence, is because I've had a relative gone through abuse, and I want to figure out ways to help prevent it.
Great, thank you so much, Zaria. Garrett, you want to go next?
Hi everyone, my name is Goreti Sama, an agent of change. I'm 27 years old. The reason why it's important for me to be engaged in preventing gender-based violence is because I'm a young woman who's at risk of gender-based violence, and I've seen young girls like me being victims of gender-based violence. So I want to end it by disseminating information and providing the necessary steps to take whenever they want to report GBV cases. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, I'm going to hand it over to Banalata. And Banalata, if you don't mind turning on your camera.
Hello everyone.
Hello सबको. Yeah, hello everybody.
Hello everyone.
Hello everybody.
मेरा नाम है बनलता
My
घोष
name
और
Balunrata Ghost,
मैं
and
21 बरस की हूँ।
I am 21 years of age.
झारखंड इंडिया से
I
हूँ।
am from Dhakan, India.
जैसे कि लिंग आधारित संबंध बहुत
And
सारा
gender-based
कठिनाई आ
violence
रहा है
is
महिलाओं
there are
के लिए
many
और
difficulties
जैसे
for
कि
young
हम लोग
females, and
जैसे
like
लड़कियों के लिए
and
तो
especially for
इसका
girls.
रोकथाम करने के
And
लिए
I think
बहुत सारा
how we
उपाय
can
है
prevent
ये
it,
सब
I think we
आप
have to
लोगों के
take
साथ
positive
हम
steps,
शेयर करेंगे।
and I think we
Thank
are all
you.
working towards it, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And unfortunately, Harada is having some difficulties joining, so she's not on at this time, but if she is able to join, then we'll stop and introduce her. But we're going to continue on with the questions. Thank you all for introducing yourselves. Okay, so can you please tell us about your experience in prevention and advocacy to support youth against gender-based violence? How did you get involved in these efforts? And we'll start with you, Gorette.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So the reason why I engaged myself in preventing gender-based violence is because I'm under the project called Chimoma Teens Project. And under Chimoma Teens Project, one of the things that we are doing is preventing gender-based violence. But the question is, how do we disseminate information to these young girls who are vulnerable to information? Okay, so we do outreaches, we do community mobilization. So what we do is that in a friendly space, we meet up with the young people, then we start session on gender-based violence. First of all, gender-based violence is a wide topic, of which we start by telling them the forms of gender-based violence and how they can recognize to say this is gender-based violence and where they can report their cases to. And we make sure that whenever we are telling these sessions, we tell them that whenever you report your cases, you are secured, you are safe, nothing's going to happen to you, because in most cases from my community, people would not report their cases because they fear to say, I'm not protected. Whenever I report the case, I'm not safe. So we give assurance to say, whenever you report your case, you are protected. Doesn't mean you'll be vulnerable to other violences. No, you are protected. To make sure that people get that motive of reporting their cases. And my engagement also, it has meant a lot to me because I've seen a number of young girls of my age. They are really standing on their own, like they can report their cases. They are free to say, this is my right, I'm not supposed to do this. They cannot be forced to do things that they don't like. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. And it was great. I had the opportunity of seeing some of Gorette's work in action in Zambia, and it's just amazing to watch all of the change and great things that you all are doing. Okay, Banalata, I'm going to ask you the same question. Can you tell us about your experience in prevention and advocacy to support youth against gender-based violence, and a little more about how you got involved in these efforts? Oh, I think you're muted, Banalata. Okay.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you now.
इन सभी गतिविधियों में
Yeah, I
अपना
think in
भागीदारी
all these
उमंग के तहत
activities,
सुनिश्चित
I
किया है।
was
उमंग में
very
हर
much
उमंग में से
motivated,
ही
and
जानकारी
I think
मिलता है
I got all
सबको।
the
इसमें सबसे
information with the
पहले मेरे मम्मी को
and
श्रेय जाता
I
है।
think I just want to give the credit to
उन्होंने
my
मेरे
mother.
को
I
हर
think
अच्छा
my
चीज में
mother
सपोर्ट किया।
always supported
और
me for
आज
everything
अगर
that
हम
was
हैं
right.
आप लोगों
And
के
even
साथ,
if I am
तो
here
ये
and I'm here
उमंग
in between
परियोजना
you,
के
I think this is
लिए ही
only
संभव हुआ,
because
जिसमें
you know, because of the efforts that I have made. And I think this gender-based violence, I wanted to say that the practical system, if you look into that and if you analyze that, and I think the women can always read it. Like there are other things that if women are given an upper like a good treatment, and I think that can be a resolution, and this can be quite good for them. And I think the awareness is very very important. And I think that they should be brave. They should be brave in themselves. Women need to be powerful, and if they are powerful, then they can go ahead and they can also contribute an important part of the community. And thank you very much for inviting me here. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next question that we're going to ask is, with your experience as a youth leader and an advocate for the protection of girls, can you please describe some of the important or the impact or changes that you've observed in your community, and talk a little more about what's the importance of mobilizing communities in this effort? Over to you, Gorette.
Thank you so much, Melissa. So the changes and the impact that the program has brought is like, I'll start by telling a story of this young woman who has been married off at 21 years old. So this woman has been married off and she get to be abused sexually by the husband, and she doesn't know where to report to. So during our sensitization, our mobilizing in our community, so we went through and gave out this session on gender-based violence, where we talked about rights, sexual rights. Yeah, we talked of other things, also sexual abuse and other factors of gender-based violence. So this lady was in a cloud of people. Then she couldn't come and tell us to say, okay, just there and then to say, okay, what you are from telling us now, I think I'm a victim. She never came just on that day. So after some days, 3 days, she came to me to say, okay, I heard your session when you're doing your mobilization in the community, and then you talked about gender-based violence and where people can report to. So she asked me to say, how safe is it for me as a married woman to go and report my husband that she's abusing me sexually? Then I had to explain to her to say, whenever you report a case, just your case is confidential. They cannot be telling everybody about your case. Number one, whenever you report your case, you are protected. Your case is protected. Doesn't mean that they will spread out the news to say you've been abused by your husband. Doesn't work like that. The people that you're going to report the case to, they're only interested in your well-being, seeing you that you are healthy, okay, yeah, you are stable, you are mentally okay. So she said, okay, then I have to tell you what has been going on in my home. My husband abuses me sexually, but I've never told anyone. I'm just being open with you because you are the one who was teaching about gender-based violence. I said, okay, you can be free with me. Then this lady started telling me to say, whenever my husband wants sex, he never asks for my consent. He will just do it the way he likes it. So I don't feel comfortable. Like, it has been disturbing me mentally. Like, whenever I'm in a cloud of people, I don't express myself freely. Yeah, some kind. So I advise her to say, okay, you can report your case at GBV. Yeah, GBV Center. It's a one-stop center. You go there, you find counselors, mentors, you find police officers, everybody's there, the doctors, they'll examine you, you are protected. She said, okay, yes. Then you can show me where the place is, and then I had to show her the place. Then she went there and reported her case. Fortunately, the husband never said no to go where he was summoned to. He went there at GBV Center, and then the issue was talked over, and then the man, he never changed now and then, but it took him 2 months. That's when the lady came to me to say, but I've seen some change on my husband. He never used to behave the way he used to behave, but he has changed now. So that was an impact to me, like, okay, someone, at least I've changed a life through my sensitization, through my mobilizing, I've changed a life. At least someone is safe now. She's protected. And then that led, she just said, thank you. I never knew that I've lied when it comes to sexual. Like, I've right to say yes or no to sex. I never knew that. So it's really, it's an impact, yeah.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And I think having safe spaces to go to in the community and know where to go to ask for help and resources is a huge asset. Okay, over to you, Banalata. With your experience as a youth leader, can you describe some of the impact or changes that you've noticed in your community? And more specifically, what's the importance of involving the community in these efforts? Hi, Banalata, can you hear us?
हेलो मैम
Hi.
हाँ मैम इसमें मैं बोलना चाहती हूँ कि
Yes, I just want to
लड़की को
say
सुरक्षित
that
होना बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण
it
है
is
और
very
लड़की जब
important that
आगे बढ़ती है
a
तो
girl should be
अनेक
always
प्रकार की
protected,
कठिनाइयों का
and
सामना करना पड़ता है
whenever a
जिसमें
girl wants to progress, she has to face many
जैसे कि
challenges and
बाल
many
विवाह
problems.
जैसे कम उम्र में ही उनका शादी दिया
Like
जाता है शादी
like
करा दिया
girls are
जाता
married
है
at a very
तो
young age,
उसमें
so
लड़की का
the
जैसे कि
girl
अगर वो लड़की मन
so if
चाहते हैं कि
the
हम
and if the
पढ़ेंगे
girl doesn't
और
want
पढ़
to
के
get
आगे
married and
बढ़ेंगे
she
अपना
wants to
करियर
go
बनाएंगे
ahead and
ये
she
सब
wants to
अगर
make a
सोचते
career
हैं तो
and
फिर
seek
भी नहीं
education,
उसका सक्सेस होता
and
है
then
क्योंकि
she even then she doesn't
उसका
get
घर वाले
successful
या तो
because
पड़ोसी तो ताना
her
मारते रहते कि इनका
parents,
शादी कब होगा
people in
शादी
the
कब होगा
community,
तो
they just
इसका
want to
बहुत
they
ही
just keep on saying that
हम
get her
लोगों का
married,
इंडिया
get her
में
married.
बहुत
And
ही
in
चल रहा
India
है कि
it is
बाल विवाह तो
there is a
जब
lot of
घर में
problem
शादी
for
दी जाता
young
है इसमें कम उम्र में
girls who
तो
get
बहुत
married, and
कठिनाई होता है
when they
जैसे
get
कि
married and at
कम
a very
उम्र में
young
अगर
age, there
शादी
are
दिया जाता
lots
है
of
तो कम उम्र
problems.
में गर्भधारण
And
भी हो
if
जाता है
and
तो उसमें
also
भी
they just
कठिनाई
get
होता है
pregnant
उन
at a very young age,
लड़कियों को
and they have
और
to
वो
look after
फेस
the
करना
houses
पड़ता
at a
है
very young age,
तो
and the girls have to face it.
अगर वो
So
रुका
it
जाता है
is
तो लड़की का विकास हो सकता है मैम
so I
बाल
think that
विवाह
if we
थैंक यू
can
मैम
just put an end to this forced marriage.
Thank you, Banalata. That's great. It is so important that the girls are able to wait until they're ready and finish school and to pursue all of the things that they're interested in. Okay, I would love to hear from you, Zaria. So what should people know who support youth against gender-based violence about meaningfully engaging youth and creating safe spaces for youth to access resources?
What people should know about creating safe spaces for youth is that us youth, we like people we could talk to and we like to express our feelings. Let us explain before you apply solutions and you try to fix our problems. And we also feel like we can relate to people that look like us and that we could relate to, because in ways if it makes us feel safer to express ourselves.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I've heard that so many times that, hearing from people that look like you and they can relate or the same age or around the same age is really helpful in understanding and feeling heard. So that's great. I'll ask you the same question, Barrett. What should people who work to support youth against gender-based violence know about meaningfully engaging youth and creating safe spaces for youth to access resources?
Thank you. Okay, so what people should know, these people are leading youth. Number one, they should know that these young people are very diverse. When we talk about diversity, we are talking about the physical appearance, different background, people living with disabilities. And these types of people, they have different needs. Yeah, there are people who just need attention. Like when we talk about people living with disability, in most cases, they are not privileged to be found in friendly spaces. Why? We don't give that impression to say even if you are living with a disability, you can find yourself in a friendly space where you can mingle with other youths. But we don't. So most of the time we find that people living with disabilities are left out because they have that low self-esteem to say they cannot mingle with us. So these people who are leading youth, they should know that these people are very diverse, and to meet their needs, they need to understand, for each group, they need to understand their need. Okay, to say these people are living with this disability, they need this, they need this. If they know what they need, they are able to make a friendly space for everyone, where there's no, with a friendly space where it's judgmental free. Yeah, so that these young people, they are able to request for their resources. And then when you talk about meaningful youth engagement, these people are leading youth. They must know to say, meaningful youth engagement, it's whereby you engage young people in planning, just on a background of a program, engage youth, make them decide what they want, and make them lead the program. But in most cases, these people who are leading young youth, they just program, they'll make a program by themselves. They sit on the table to say, okay, we are going to do this and this. And the next thing, they throw the budget, or rather the plan, to the young youths, when they did not involve them in the planning. So they should know that the same young youth, they are planning programs for them, and they're the ones who are going to benefit from this program. So they should engage them. Instead, they will decide to say, this, we are going to like this on our program. We're going to like this on our program. They'll add on things that will be useful in the program. So these people should know that whenever they are planning for the project, the activity, they should put youth in front. In a designing program, let them engage youth. Yeah, whenever they are implementing something, let them engage youth, because these young youth we are talking about, they are shy at some time. So due to them not being engaged in certain levels, they shy out from these resources we are talking about. So if they feel free to say, okay, I'm in a free space, I can request for these resources anytime I want, they are free to request for the resources. And the other thing is that they should make sure that these resources are very much available, that each time these youth need their resources, they are available. Youth, they get discouraged when I tell a youth to say, okay, we have this resource at our facility, so you can get it at any time. And then these youth come, and then I tell her to say, okay, we are running out of these resources, we cannot provide. She goes back. The next time she gets discouraged, she'll never come back for that resources. So we should make sure that the resources are very much available for these youth to benefit. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. And I appreciate you highlighting the fact that all youth have diverse needs, right? No youth are the same. There's not necessarily a solution that just fits all. So it's so important to listen and let youth be a part of the planning and designing, so that it is what they need based on their unique needs. Okay, Vanalada, we're gonna go over to you with the same question about what people who work to support youth against gender-based violence should know about meaningfully engaging them and creating safe spaces to access resources.
हाँ मैम, इसमें मैम अगर
Yes, I
देखा
will
जाए
want to
तो
say that if you
जो
see
लिंग
to
आधारित
it
समस्या होता है
that
तो
the
इसमें
gender-based violence,
लड़की को तो हो ही जाता है,
the
जिसमें
girl
बहुत
faces it,
एक मेरा
and
साथी जैसे कि हुआ है
and
बाल
for
विवाह में
instance,
से,
I have
बोले कि
faced
शादी
it,
पहले दे
and
दीजिए, घर वालों से बोला
and
जाता है इसमें
and also
शादी करा दीजिए,
the
इतना दूर
people
पढ़ के
at
क्या
at
होगा
home, your
आगे
family
चलकर।
says
इस मम्मी
that
लोगों
you
को
need to
सुनाया
get
जाता है,
married.
समाज
What
से
will you
सुनने
do
को
if you
मिलता
even
है, लेकिन
educate?
मेरे मम्मी
What will
पापा
you
तो ऐसे
do?
बोले नहीं कि
And
हाँ तुम
my
पढ़ो और
parents
आगे
did
बढ़ो,
not
यही
say
बोला
that
जाता है। तो अगर
like
और
that,
भी
but
लड़की
my
है जो
parents said that
सुरक्षित
you
अभी भी
can
नहीं है, और
you can
उनका घर
educate
वाला अभी
yourself
भी
and
नहीं
you can
समझते
go
हैं
ahead.
कि
And
आगे
even
पढ़कर अपना
usually the
करियर बनाना
girls,
है। तो
they
इसमें
girls'
अगर
families
एक
don't think like
संगठन
that. They
बनाया
don't
जाए
want them to
तो
be
लड़की के
to
लिए
educate
बेहतर रहेगा,
themselves
और
and
इस
to create
संगठन के
careers.
द्वारा जैसे
And if
कानून
there
का
is an
पता,
association,
सबको अगर
for
कानून का पता
instance,
रहेगा
if it
कि
is
हाँ
under
ये
the
करने से ये
legal
कानून
terms
लागू
that
हो जाता है, ये होता है,
people
तो
should be given this
सब
awareness
मतलब
that
हर
if you
लड़की
do
को
and you
जागरूक
act
होना बहुत जरूरी
in a
है।
certain
इसमें
way,
तो
then
एक
legally this will not
संगठन
be
बनाना
right.
चाहिए,
And I
एक
think there should be an
जैसे कि
association, there should
हम
be an
लोग उस समस्या
organization.
को
We should
समाधान
also
कर
make
पाए,
that
वहां
so
पर
that
जाकर
we
बोले
can
कि ये मेरा समस्या
look
है
into the
और इस
problems, and
समस्या
we
का
should see
समाधान
that
करने
this
के
is
लिए
the
मेरे को
problem.
हेल्प कर
And
दीजिए।
also,
ये
if
सब
there is
हम
violence,
लड़की
then
जाकर बता सके।
a girl can go there
Thank
and
you,
she
ma'am.
can also tell her that what she needs about this. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for highlighting the importance of having safe spaces and people that you can go to. Okay, so I have a question, an open question for anyone on the panel who'd like to answer. What are some of the biggest changes in your life that you've noticed, or in the world around you, in your communities, in your schools, in your neighborhoods, since you've been a part of the project? What are some changes that you've noticed, or what is, yeah, how have things been different since you've been a part of the project? And that question's for anyone who'd like to answer.
I can answer this one.
Okay.
So the changes that I've observed since I've been on this program. Okay, lately we had a challenge in my community, especially I'll talk of. When it comes to cases of gender-based violence, young women and just older women could not report, because there's this cultural norm in my community which says when your husband beats you, it means he loves you, of which is not the case, of which we experience a high rate of death. Yeah, women dying from GBV. It's because they never know where to report their cases to or whom to talk to. So after the Chimoma Teens project came, we've been mobilizing, doing outreaches, and also doing session on the friendly spaces. So it turned out to be like when you go in a community, when you talk about gender-based violence, people were surprised to say, oh, there's even these things, we never heard of this. So where can we report this case to, or whom can we talk to? So it came out to say people have started gaining that knowledge. It's like they were missing this knowledge. Where would they start from? Whom do they report to? But after disseminating the information, people have now woken up from their sleep now. They're able to report their cases at GBV, and I'm glad to say from my community, in 1 month at least, you can hear from people working from GBV that 3 cases has been reported from my community, of which is showing it's a great impact and it's a great change, because before people never used to report, but now they're able to report, of which I'm saying that, okay, this project has brought impact on people. And the information that we've been displaying on our community, it is really working, because the people that we've talked to, they're also telling other people. And I'm glad to say that the young people that I've been meeting, they'll be coming up with questions to say, if I see my neighbor being mistreated by the husband, what can I do? Can I go and report on their behalf? So I can say, okay, these children, they know about gender-based violence. They can recognize when someone is being mistreated. So it's a great achievement and impact. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I just wanted to share really quickly a comment from the audience. I'm also looking at the chat. I hear that people are saying, thank you, panelists. Thank you for sharing your experiences and wonderful work that you're doing in your communities. And I definitely want to second that. You all have shared such great information. Does anyone else want to answer the last question? No? Okay, so we have a few extra minutes before we get into our call to action. I just want to open the floor to any other last remarks, thoughts, right before the call to action. If there's anything that was missed or anything that you want to include that wasn't included yet, this is a time that you can go ahead and share. And if you feel like you got everything, that's okay too. Okay, well, thank you so much. So we'll go into the call of action. So this is the part where we're going to ask each of our panelists to use as one sentence or phrase as your call to action for all of the attendees today against gender-based violence and for protecting girls. So we'll start with Zaria. Zaria, what is your call to action to all of our attendees here today?
If your youth come to you with their problems, give them time to express themselves before you judge them.
Thank you. Thanks. And Banalata, what would be your call to action for all of the attendees and audience today?
आपके लिए क्या कहेंगी Banalata?
Hello, ma'am. मैम आपका पहले आवाज काट रहा था इसीलिए सुनाई नहीं थोड़ा पड़ा। आप पहले से बोलिए और एक बार क्या बोले
Can
क्वेश्चन।
you please repeat the question because the line was very bad. I could not hear the question. Can you please repeat the question?
Sure, sure. We're at the part of the call to action. So any sentence, a phrase, something that you want all of the attendees here to know about protecting girls against gender-based violence. What is one call to action for all of the attendees today?
यस मैम। तो
Yes,
इसमें मैं क्वालिटी सेक्शन में हम यही बताना चाहते हैं कि
I would like to
लड़की
say
को
that yes, the
उच्च
girls
शिक्षा का
should
जरूरत
be
है और
that should be
आर्थिक
given
जो
high quality
प्रॉब्लम
of
है उसको भी
education, and the
समाप्त करना है और
problems they could
सशक्तिकरण लड़की को सशक्तिकरण बहुत ही जरूरी है।
they should
ये
have
मेरा
a
राय है।
good education.
थैंक यू मैम।
This is my opinion that the girls should have good education, high quality of education.
Thank you. And that is so important. Not only education, but high quality as well. Education and resources, health services. Thank you so much, Vanalata. And last but certainly not least, Garrett, what is your call to action for all of the attendees here today?
Okay, thank you so much. So my call to action is that I just want to urge everyone who's present right now that whenever we see cases of gender-based violence, please let's report and let us make sure. I'm just calling on our organization which are available. Please empower young girls, please, so that they do not get vulnerable to gender-based violence. In most communities, girls are getting vulnerable because of they do not have resources. They have not been to school. They're out of school. That's why they're getting involved in gender-based violence issues. Thank you.
Great. Thank you all so much. And I see in the chat, everyone is singing your all praises, just talking about how wonderful you all did. So thank you so much. I want to give a special thank you to all of our wonderful panelists today. The information that you all shared is so valuable in creating a safer world for girls against gender-based violence. We'd also like to thank all who are in attendance and to encourage you all to think about how you can incorporate the call to action into your roles and responsibilities in the communities that you serve and in this beautiful world that we all live in. Now, I'm excited to invite you to an informal speed networking session. So in order to join, please click the People tab in the event lobby. Once you're there, you can select another event to participate for a one-on-one chat or conversation. You may connect with as many participants as you wish until 11:30 Eastern time when our webinar is done. Regretfully, we're unable to provide interpretation during this portion of the event, but we encourage you to please have fruitful conversations, and we want to thank you again for joining us today. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you in the networking session.